Hello and welcome to another episode with your favorite Project Lead the Way teacher, Mr. Spaeth. Today we're going to be working on the cow catcher. So section 8.1a, the optional terrain. This is our last piece, our cow catcher. Looks like a very difficult piece. As you'll notice here, this is dimensioned with a cutaway surface with an exploded view where I can see a sort of a detailed view right here. You'll notice they dimension the bottom as 1.8 across, and they dimension the top as 1.2 across. They dimension how wide this is by 0.75 inches on the top and 1 inch on the bottom. Notice it is not a simple drawing the bottom, extruding it to the top. We need to use a new command called loft. And before we get started, just want to make sure that our project path is set to terrain, and that we open a new part file, and then we take a 2D sketch, and we'll start on the bottom in a second here. What I want to show you is this loft command. Loft command takes two profiles, not the same size, not in the same place, but connects them with sort of an extrusion in between. What's nice is that the extrusion doesn't have to be simple. It can be very, very difficult shape. You'll notice in the second what they do, they loft to a point. And that last loft makes it look like a hook. Okay, so very, very difficult shape, one that an extrude or a rotate cannot do by itself, but one that we can use to our advantage when designing this cow catcher. So we're going to draw the bottom, and then we're going to put an offset plane, 0.75 inches, and then we're going to draw the top, and then we're going to loft one profile to the other profile, making this a much easier design to do. So let's start with a sketch on the bottom plane, our XZ plane. We are just going to kind of draw by hand what our shape should about look like. I said it was 1.8 on the bottom here, so let me just put in 1.8. Just kind of draw in the rest of it here. Should be good to go. Okay, so now I'm just going to dimension the rest of it. So I definitely need this dimension, and that one should be 0.25 typical, so that means both sides are 0.125. Or sorry, 0.25. I'm going to do the same thing over here, 0.25. We also know that the nose of this bottom portion should be 1 inch from the base. So I'm going to dimension from here to right there. Should be 1 inch exactly. And then we also know that from the nose to this little point is 0.9 inches. So I'm just going to take this point right here and this one and go 0.9. And there we have our shape, all done. So now because we put that on the XZ plane, let me just open this up for you right here. XZ plane. I'm going to make an offset plane, a work plane, that is parallel to this XZ plane, and I'm going to make it the height of our object here, which is 0.75 inches away. So that when we do our loft, I'm just going to go offset from plane, and I'm going to pick my XZ plane. And then I can just take my mouse and right click and lift it up, but I can also just input in how far away I want it to be. So I'm just going to say 0.75. I'm going to draw the top of my part here, and then I'm going to use my loft command that's going to take this profile and my profile I'm going to draw up here to create my shape. Notice if I go to the front side view, both of these disappear. If I go to the top side, notice there's my bottom, and here's going to be my front. The only thing that's going to be similar about both of these is I need to center the center line of this back portion with the center line of the bottom portion. So the top and the bottom, both the centers, will be at the same spot. So that's something I need to keep in mind when I start a sketch. I'm going to go to my work plane. I'm actually going to flip this over because I don't like that orientation. So here I am looking straight down. I'm going to project some geometry. I'm going to project this line up right here. And in so doing, I'm going to be able to find the midline right here. Notice how it highlighted and turned green. I can start making my shape this way. So before I click on anything, I want to know how big I need to make that back portion. It looks like 1.2 inches. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over 0.6 inches halfway this way. I'm going to stop using that line. Then I'm going to go from the end point here, and I'm going to go over 0.6 as well. So now my back is 1.2 inches. Let me just delete this and delete this. Grab a line from here to here and just make that 1.2. Okay. Now it does look very messy with all these dimensions from the other lines here, but we're just going to have to deal with that for right now. The next thing is I'm just going to draw the rest of it just like I did my bottom, and then I'm going to dimension. So I'm going to put a line up here, going over here, back around and down. And now I'm just going to dimension from there. So this one, I need to be, again, 0.25, typical, so both sides are 0.25. And then from here, again, from the base to the tip, we have 0.75. From here to here, 0.75. And then our last dimension is this 0.6 from that point to the tip. So 0.6 from here to here, 0.6. Enter. All right. Everything should be good to go now. I don't know why these aren't going purple, but really we have everything right. You can kind of see the start of our cow catcher, the shape right here already coming together. These 2 points are directly over one another, so the midpoint of the top and the midpoint of the back, or sorry, the midpoint of the back top and the midpoint of the back bottom are right over one another, so we should be good there. I'm going to finish. I'm going to go to a much nicer view. I'm going to find my loft. I'm going to choose this profile and this profile and go OK. I'm going to hide this work plane, so right-click on it and go turn off the visibility. And if we take a look at this stuff now, that looks like our cow catcher. Very, very simple little shape here. But took some pretty complex methods in order to create it in 3 dimensions. So just a couple more things now, really, a couple more features. These little windows I want to put on there. And then these little extrusions out the back. So why don't I put those on right away? So I'm going to look at the back. I'm going to start a 2D sketch on the back. And I'm just going to create 3 different circles. I don't know how big yet. I'm just going to create them. And we can dimension them later. Oh, missed that one. I don't know if that one's on the center line back there or not. So I'm not gonna click on something when that little white area shows. But let's dimension these now. So it looks like we are 0.25 over from the corner. So that's why they gave us this detail here, 0.275. So I'm going to take dimension to the center line, and I should be able to highlight this point. It's not giving that to me. So I do know from the bottom, that one I can get 0.125. But 125, and now let's see if I can hit that corner. There, I can hit the corner here, and this should be 0.275. So just locating holes, we've done this before, nothing new, and then we just need a radius or a diameter here, and this right here is for the chamfer that's on the end. You can see that little chamfered portion, make it easy to fit in. we should have a hole diameter. There we are, diameter. This one, they kind of cut it in half, but they still dimension off of it. That's kind of weird. But diameter should be 0.125 typical. So that means all three of these are 0.125 in diameter. So let's see. Right now, I have a diameter dimension on there, 0.125, and enter. Okay. There we have this one. We can go ahead and get our next one done. So I'm just going to, because we know the dimension of all these, I'm just going to do 0.125 for each of them. Now they are the correct size, they're just not in the correct spot yet. So again, we need a dimension from here to the bottom, 0.125. And then we have a dimension right over here that they are 1.25 away. The center lines are 1.25 away. So this one's already fixed, so I'm just going to go center line to center line, and notice this is the one that's going to move. And that happens because this one was already fixed. We also know a couple more things about these from an X perspective. The midpoint to midpoint here is 0.625, and a Y perspective, 0.625. At least it looks like it. I don't know if that's center line or back to the baseline, though. It's not a very good view for us right now. We'll see what looks better. And we'll go from there. So 0.625 center line to center line. So was it in the middle? We still can't tell. And then middle to middle. Yeah, this one can't be 0.625. Otherwise, it's going to be, that circle's going to end up way over there. So it must have meant from the baseline here of 0.625. And that makes sense. We'll finish this one. We'll extrude them. Make sure you select all three. And then they need to be extruded. If you look over here, right 0.125 typical is the width out from the back. We will finish up this part later. Hopefully you can at least get this far and finish up the rest on your own. But if you can't, make sure to ask your instructor for help, and maybe I'll put out a video on how to do the windows and the chamfers. And then it also asks you to do a shell of this part. Hope you're having fun, and hope you're having a good time with Project Lead the Way.